Hi guys, here's a video to help explain the Lorenz curve. It can be quite confusing trying to understand it and read it through the textbook. The information on Lorenz curve really leads on from the distribution of income work that I did in the prior, or that we did in the prior video, where the income for the economy is split into quartiles. So if you haven't watched that video, make sure you watch that one first before we get on to the Lorenz curve, which is one of the ways that we can measure and visualize income inequality. All right, so remember here we had the M&M representation of income. So we had 100 M&Ms, which represented 100% of the total income. All right, so when we had that split out by quartile, sorry, not quartile, quintile, which is a grouping of 5, you'll see here each group had, the lowest group had 7 M&Ms, the next 12, the next 17, the next 22, the next 41. So we're not going to talk about M&Ms anymore. So we're going to talk about income now. So those numbers just represent the percentage of income that that particular quintile has of income. So the lowest 20% is 7% of total income, second 20 is 12%, and so on and so forth, with the top 20% of income earners in Australia taking 41% of the total income, 41% of the total income. So that information is going to be important when we move on to here. So let's try and remember that those numbers are the percentage of income for the total economy. So we're going to go to a blank chart to start with to understand the Lorenz curve. So I'm going to use my cursor here to show you the important parts. So the 5 blocks down here are just exactly the same as what we had before. Here we've got the lowest 20% of people when it comes to the amount of income they earn, the next, the third, the fourth, and the highest. All right, these are your quintiles. So that's quintile 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're just introducing more technical language here. And then you'll see here we've got on the y-axis, we've got this cumulative income. Now I want to talk about this word cumulative. It's just a fancy word that means added up. All right, so if I have, I don't know. All right, let's just use, if I'm snacking, which I like to do, and I'm snacking on these, and I have walnuts. So I have 2 walnuts now. Oh, they're cashews. Silly me. If I have 2 cashews, they're really good. And then I have 1 more cashew. The cumulative amount of cashews I've had is 3. Okay, so it's just another phrase. They're really good. Another phrase to mean the added up. Now, as you can imagine, in an economy, we have an added up amount of income. The total income that's earned in Australia adds up to 100% of the income. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to plot what we call the line of absolute equality. Now, this is the line that hypothetically, and it doesn't ever exist really in any economy, but hypothetically, if everyone earned the same amount, how much cumulative income would each quintile have? And if there's 20% of the people and everyone's earning the same, that would represent to 20% of the income. And so what would we do? We'd go across 20%, we would go up 20%, and we put an X. All right, so then we go to the next one. So we've got the next 20%, which is 20% here and 20% here. And so the bottom 40% of income earners would earn 40% of the income. And you can see as we go further and further up, it's just exactly the same until we go all the way up. And what do you know? It's a straight line. And we call this the line of absolute equality. This is just a reference point, okay? This isn't real numbers. This is just a reference point for us to understand the Lorenz curve. Now let's cast our mind back to those M&Ms. We didn't have the bottom 20% of people earning 20 M&Ms, did we? Does anyone remember the actual number? Here they all now. Okay, so I've put these numbers down here just as a reference, okay, because we're going to plot our Lorenz curve based on the income distribution numbers that we had before in our M&Ms video. All right, so this is a really, really important factor of your Lorenz curve is just built from the numbers of each 20th percentile and how much income each has. So if we have the lowest 20% earning not 20, But 7% of the income, well, the X mark for this is going to go here. And then we've got the next 20% earning 12% of the income. And this is where accidents often happen with Lorenz curve. I'm not going to put a mark on the 12% here, okay? Because this 12% of the income is just for this box here. And when we look over to our y-axis, you can see it's cumulative income. All right, so really what we need to do, our next X mark is these cumulative bottom 40%. How much of the total income do they have? And so you add up these two numbers. Okay, so 12 plus 7 is 19, and that's going to be around there. And you can see we're going to follow this through. The bottom 30%, the bottom 60% of income earners, 7 plus 12 is 19, plus 17 is, I believe it's 36. All right, so we go across to 60% of people and we go up to 36%, and there we are. And now we go the second last checkpoint. So we've got the bottom 80% of income earners. We had 36% here. So we're just adding on those others here. So 36 plus 22 is 58. Doing maths in my head here. So we go all the way across here, and then we go up to what is around 58, just below 60. And there it goes there. And then your last X point for your Lorenz curve is always in the top right-hand corner here. Always, okay? Because cumulatively, the 100% of the people have to earn 100% of the income. So you don't need to do the maths. If you're building a Lorenz curve, you don't need to do the maths on this last point. It's just an X in the corner up there. And when you've done those 5 X's, you now have the Lorenz curve, which is a visual representation of the level of income inequality in a particular economy. So that's how we build a Lorenz curve. And next we're going to talk about how to actually understand the Lorenz curve. And to do that, I've just got a new chart here. And I'm going to put 2 Lorenz curves up. So we've got the original one here that we had before. Let's call it Lorenz curve A, which is the Australian income distribution. And I'm going to have just a fictitious line here that I've just drawn called Lorenz curve B. Now, based on how we built this line before, how we went across and we went up and we went across and went up, I want you to pause the video, all right, in a little bit, and using that process of going 20% and then up to the red line, 40% and then up to the red line, which country out of Lorenz curve A and B do you think has the worst income distribution? E.g., that the rich have a larger percentage of income and the poor have a smaller percentage. Don't cheat now. Don't be lazy. Pause the video, try and work it out, and then in a couple of seconds we'll talk about the answer. All right, now if you had said Lorenz curve A had the worst income distribution, you would be incorrect. That is not correct. Lorenz curve B has the worst income distribution, and here is why. If you remember, for Lorenz curve A, the lowest 20% of people only had 7% of the income over here. Now let's have a look at what it is for Lorenz curve B. The lowest 20%, do they have more or less than 7% of the income? They've got less. It looks like they've got about 3% here. Let's keep going. The bottom 40% for Lorenz curve B, let's go across 40 and we go up till we hit the line. Then we go across, have only got roughly 10% of the total income. Nearly half the people in this economy only have 10% of the income. That's not a good situation. All right, it's high amounts of poverty in this particular fictional economy. So the little hint is the bigger this curve bows out to the right, the worse the income distribution is. All right, the bigger the belly is how I like to think about it. The bigger the belly, the more money the rich people have. They got lots of money to spend on Maccas and stuff, I guess. All right, so the bigger it bows out, the bigger the belly, the worse the income distribution is, because the lower income earners here have a small percentage of the income. If you had a curve, and follow my mouse here, if you had a curve that went all the way along here and only started to come up around here, well, you'd have an economy that 60% of its people only earned about 4% of the wealth, or the income in this case. And that's not a very good situation. So the bigger it bows out, the worse it is for income inequality. Understanding this will help you understand the concept of Gini coefficient, which is one of the other concepts on how to measure income inequality. So make sure you understand this before you move on to Gini coefficient. Thanks, guys. Happy learning.